Hello and welcome to the Nines, presented by AT&T. I promised you that there would in fact be a studio. It has finally happened. Cloud9 has a studio. However, as a result of the current ongoing pandemic, I can't be joined by any of our player guests in the studio just yet. They are still on quarantine in their various team houses, so we will be bringing them in remotely. However, you can enjoy a much upgraded environment courtesy of Cloud9 and our lovely producer, Joshua. So thank you guys. We'll be using this for shows going forward, and like I said, in the future, hopefully we can get people actually in the studio to have a little bit of fun here. But joining me today is going to be our Cloud9 Academy players. It will be Inori and Fudge, the jungler and top laner of Cloud9 Academy specifically, and they're going to be talking to me about some of their gameplay, and we'll do a little bit of discussion about the overall League of Legends meta currently, how they're interacting with the overall Cloud9 LCS roster in terms of their own scrims, and their I would say, difficult start to this split after coming off the championship run that they had in spring. So first off, why don't we welcome Fudge and Inori into the show. Hopefully, I'll be able to hear them as we bring them in right now.
Can you hear me?
Gentlemen.
Hello.
Are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Is our mics not?
Hello. Fudge, Inori.
Hello,
hopefully
hello,
you can hear
hello,
me.
hello.
That's. I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, perfect.
I can hear you, yes.
Excellent. Well,
Sorry.
thank you guys for coming in. Welcome to the show here on the Nines. Sorry you can't join us in the studio. I get to go outside, unlike you guys.
Yeah, the studio looks pretty good, actually.
You have freedom.
I have a studio and I have freedom.
It's a nice studio. I like it. I like the plants.
Yeah, they're very fake because there's no sunlight in here. But they're tasteful. They're tasteful. Anyway, so how are you guys doing? You guys got your first win versus Golden Guardians Academy this past weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing okay myself. I personally don't think like the 3 losses were like that devastating. I still think it's like the start of the split, and same as spring split, we were pretty bad as well. So I'm not too worried, honestly.
Yeah, and you guys did come off a sweep in the finals of spring in terms of just taking the championship quite easily. So you did, sort of ramp up over time, right?
Yeah, I expect the same this split.
So let's talk first about what's going on, because you guys don't have your normal Australian AD carry King at the position right now. You have brought in Tomo for this split. So first off, let's talk about what's going on with King and why, Fudge, you were able to escape Australia, but King was not.
Well, I got my visa extremely early.
Okay.
And Calvin got denied quite early, so he had to go through a longer process. And then COVID happened all at the same time. So it was pretty unlucky, and he got denied. He got denied visa, kept getting denied, and then he got stuck in Australia now because the visa appointments got cancelled. But
to be clear, you are intending to move forward with King whenever he is out of visa prison.
It depends, honestly.
It depends.
If he's not, if Tomo's doing well, if Tomo's better, I assume that we will keep him, and it just depends who's better, I think.
Ooh, Fudge, man. King is your friend.
What?
Your Australian brother, and you say
That's the best player to play.
Oh my God.
I like his spirit of competition. That's what it's about. Competition over friendship, right?
Yes.
That's not the NA way, man.
That's true. It's not the NA way,
true.
but we're changing the NA way here at Cloud9. That's why the teams are actually winning, both in Academy and LCS,
True.
right?
Not Academy, but
well, you guys are coming off of a championship split, so come on, come on. You got plenty of time to turn it around. You've only played 4 games. It's not the biggest deal in the world, as you said yourselves. So how did you guys select Tomo for this roster?
Well, Inori can answer this actually.
For me, I just kind of woke up one day, and apparently the manager told me King wasn't going to be playing, and there's a guy named Tomo is going to play for us, and I was like, huh. So that's how it's going to be.
So you guys didn't do any scouting yourself? Did you know who he was from the ladder?
I mean, yes, I personally knew. I said to like the managers that I thought he was like the best ADC in solo queue at the time, so I was happy to have.
It was mostly Diamond, I would say, making the decision.
Got it. So Diamond was the one. Yeah, they have to actually play together. I mean, you have to play together with him too, but he has shown some versatility. We've seen him play more traditional AD carries like Aphelios this last week. Also saw him play the Cassiopeia. So have you been impressed with his general champion pool, considering he's just fresh out of solo queue?
Yeah, I he plays a lot of different majors, so I was pretty like surprised that he actually played majors. Not many ADCs actually do.
He definitely plays a lot of different stuff, which is good. He can adapt.
I would say that's pretty important in the pro meta right now. We don't even see that amongst all the LCS AD carry players all the time. So that versatility certainly gives you quite a bit to work with, I would say. So when you guys bring him in, how hard is it to integrate a new solo queue player into a more professional like comm structure and lineup?
Well, in scrims, Tomo basically made a lot of like random mistakes, like especially the first couple of days. Like he would just die a lot randomly, and it's just like something you'd see out of solo queue.
Mm.
And basically, every single review would just say, "Tomo, you can't do this. Tomo, you can't do that." And then eventually, he started to like stop making those mistakes. And I mean, he still makes those mistakes now, but it's a lot less frequently.
Fair
It's
enough.
getting better.
Fair enough. Are there any things specifically that you or the coaching staff have worked on with him in order to improve?
It was also communication, of course. He like tend to not talk as much, and he would tend to like not ask for resources himself when he needs them, which is very important for an ADC.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes for me, I think he has struggled knowing like what his role was in the team at the time, like in the certain part of the game, what he should be doing. Before like Calvin or King, he would instantly know like his role. And as a team, when you grow, everyone kind of like knows their role. So for him coming in, he kind of like had to adapt and fill the role Calvin left. And I think he's starting to get the hang of it now, but at the beginning he struggled a lot. So him getting caught out as like an AD carry happened quite often, I would say.
So
But
how
you
are you?
learn from it.
I mean, beyond the trying to integrate Tomo into the roster, how are you guys adapting to the new patch? Because obviously it affects you in particular, Inori, quite a bit. And you've been playing, I've noticed some Rek'Sai in some of these games, which is a pick we haven't seen in the LCS hardly at all. I don't think, I actually think 0 games so far. So what's your read on the current meta?
I actually think Rek'Sai is just broken as shit. I don't know why no one plays him.
I
'Cause, like, my
think
opinion,
Rek'Sai's good too, so.
yeah, I always felt like just looking at it and playing him, I always have really good results. And just seeing other teams not play it was always surprising to me because I think if in the right hands, if you have good laners too, he's probably the best jungler to have on your team. And for the rest of the meta, I mean, it kind of shifted a bit, right? Like you're seeing different picks. You're seeing Trundle, Olaf more. I'm trying to get better at the current picks, but I still think Rek'Sai is like really good for me too.
How do you feel about Rek'Sai ganking for you? We did see, the Rek'Sai in the EG Academy game that you guys lost this weekend, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute.
Rek'Sai's always nice to have, man. Top lane, you can't play against Rek'Sai if you're playing top lane, so it's always nice to have it on your team instead of the enemy.
So we've got this new really cool stat system from Microsoft where we can look at stats from around the world. And in particular, I want to take a look at your guys' stats from this past week. And we're going to start actually by looking at the EG Academy game because I've got a little game I want to play with you guys. It's called Let's Look at the Stats and Guess Who Won This Game, okay? So I know you guys are going to love this one. So we've got stats between, let's start with Fudge and Hooney here as we bring it up.
Ooh.
Jesus.
So I as we take a look at this, we've got your kills, we've got your deaths, we've got the kills at 15 minutes, some gold stats in there as well. If you had to look at this and I said, Fudge, please pick which player won this game, who would you pick?
Yeah, I'd probably choose myself, honestly.
I would too. I would too.
I would choose the guy who set ulti himself into the tower and died.
We'll get to that. So we've also got Inori versus Anda that we can pull up right now. I picked the same statistical categories. All right. So we can see, you Inori, you were 7-0-2 at one point in this game on the Rek'Sai. So
that's a rough one, huh?
Yeah, if you looked at these stats and I said, did you or Anda win this game, who would you say won?
I would say the tank player won. Definitely, he had the right idea of the game. Pick the tank, front line the team. I was just simply the wrong player that day.
All right. So having looked at those stats, let's bring it back and let's actually discuss this game because this game was super fucking weird. I mean, for those of you who didn't see it, why this is funny and why we're all laughing about it is these guys were up 6,000 gold at one point. Huni was, as far as I can tell, actually inting in this game. So I want to talk about this because if you guys haven't seen this game, it's worth watching the first few minutes at least because Huni is playing Set versus Fudge in the top lane on the Aatrox. And so the first gank, it's great to, as soon as I saw this game and I saw how you guys were playing it, I knew this was going to be just a fantastic show because it was all about you guys. So first off, Inori, you come and you blow his flash in the top lane. Then you circle back for another gank and you kill him, right? And then Huni comes back into lane on Set and then Set ults into your turret where Fudge kills him as Aatrox. What was going on, do you think, with Huni in this scenario?
Okay, I have a defense for Huni. Okay, his flash was up in 3 seconds. Sometimes when you're playing the game, you don't actually look at the flash cooldown like directly. You look at it in the corner of your eye, and when it's on like 2 or 3 seconds left, it actually looks like it's like up. Like, so maybe he thought he would flash ult me backwards, and he just ulted me. That's my defense, That's the defense I thought for Huni.
Because
unbelievable.
Because Anda was sort of there, but he was in River, right?
Yes.
And there wasn't any way he was going to get into that gank at any kind of time. So I thought maybe Huni messed up and was trying to ult you, like Set ult you out of the turret towards Anda, but he ends up just flying directly under your turret and feeding.
Yeah. I think he was trying to flash ult me into Anda, but it was just he didn't have flash for another 3 or 4 seconds. It's something you'd seen like Silva, but it's like it happens,
Those were like Monte Cristo level mechanics right there.
Yeah.
It was bad. So with this, you guys start getting super ahead, and like I said, Fudge ends up getting super fed. You end up getting super fed, Inori, and there's so they're 5,000-6,000 gold behind, and you guys somehow can't close this game. And really, there was a turning point in the mid game where Huni teleports in a Set and then drags Fudge into all of the members of EG Academy with his ultimate. And at this point in time, we actually see the Orianna shockwave, but somehow Tomo on Aphelios is like walking directly into them on Aphelios and gets unnecessarily caught in this shockwave. What was going on in your comms right there?
Okay, well, basically, a minute before this, we were like, okay, I'm going to set up a TP ward. Diamond was saying this. I'm going to set up a TP ward, and we'll try to TP behind them, and I'll look to ulti I think it was Senna at the time, or Karma. It's probably Senna. And then, basically, we thought they were committing to a fight, and then Nautilus ulted, and then Karma, I think, Monte the Senna, and she was really fast. The Nautilus ult actually couldn't catch up. And my TP flank ended up not being a TP flank, and Set just ulted me into them, and I got one shot. Tomo, obviously he entered. There's nothing much more to say about that. It happens. I entered as well. I can't talk, But
well, you couldn't stop your teleport, to be fair, from going through. But the proper play there, was just to let you die and not throw the entire game by letting them have objectives after, by walking forward with Aphelios directly into a shockwave. You did say, though, and I do want to call this out, you did say before this call that you think that Orianna ball is very difficult to see on that skin. Yes?
I did say that actually. Yeah, I remember that now.
Which skin is this? Because I'm not familiar with which exact skin the Orianna was using.
All of them. Let's just say all of them.
So all Orianna balls are
Those
difficult.
skins, the balls are bullshit. But honestly, for me, my perspective on that, I was just like, I think it was just like a bit of like miscommunication. We're so far ahead, we thought we could just kind of like take the engage at any point without like being in like the perfect spots for it. Like for me, I was like on the side and my tunnel was down, so I had no way to get into the fight. So I was like 7-0 Rek'Sai watching this fight unfold in front of me, and then it was just like I was so helpless. I was just watching from the sidelines, and the game just kind of went boom after that.
So if you had a do-over here, what do you think the call should have been, given that you and Fudge were the ones who were super ahead in this game and the rest of the map was a little shaky? Do you wish you had tried to split push or provide a little lane pressure a little bit better?
I was split pushing top, so I was setting up a wave to like push out, and I felt like they couldn't really side lane. So our game plan for me was like to push out that wave, force them to miss a wave, and I was gonna group up mid and then take like an uneven fight, or a fight in our favor instead of just kind of like 5v5ing them, because they had a really good like 5v5 comp, like Karma, Senna, Trundle, like all those champs together are pretty strong.
Yeah, I don't know what they would have done in terms of stopping any split push, especially because you had already shut down the set. Maybe, you know, the Oriana can wave clear in TP, but still not going to be exactly the same amount of pressure versus that super fed Aatrox and also the mobility that you have on the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, I think I should have just doubled down and just kept killing the Inting Huni. I think that should have been my like plan. I was looking at side lane, I see Huni splitting. I'm like, honestly, if I just win here, I could get another kill. I could be 8-0. I could be 9-0 if I go again. And I just kept watching it, but I was like, maybe this isn't worth the time. I probably should have doubled down on it and just kept killing him.
So, I mean, as much as that game was a little bit of a heartbreaker, I look at this game and I'm like, well, this is really winnable. You guys know what to do next time you're in this situation. And, even though you guys are 1-3, which is kind of astounding, especially like, let's take a look at your stats versus each other. So when we look at you guys together over the course of 4 games, and we look at your KDAs and these other stats that you guys are putting up, I would not expect with you guys both over 3 and one of you over 4 KDA that you guys would be 1-3. These are not stats that are normally associated with having 3 losses and only 1 win, because stats are really heavily affected by win-loss in League of Legends. So
I don't know. I'm winning lane every game, I guess. Losing game. Top lane's irrelevant.
Fudge Kingdom.
Top lane's relevant, I guess.
Dude, my XP is so bad. 169 at least, though.
Yeah, there are, it's not exactly perfect, and it does represent, I think, some level of taking those 3 losses. But at the same time, for a 3-loss team, these are pretty good statistics overall. And if we were to compare them, which I didn't hear, to an LCS team with the same record, I think you'd see a pretty big difference. Do that next time. We have the power now through Microsoft.
The technology.
We do have the tech. It's pretty cool.
Incredible.
So for you guys, a lot of these losses have been really close. You've had significant leads. So I imagine that for you, it's not too terribly difficult to look at these losses and brush them off, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's not like we're just like losing lane at 5 minutes every game. I'm not too worried, honestly.
Yeah, I think we'll get better. I mean, I'm used to losing a lot. I've been on a lot of losing teams in LCS too. So like always starting off weak is like perfectly fine. It's like, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. I always try to keep that mindset and, try to finish strong.
So what are you guys still adjusting to when it comes to the new meta? Obviously with a new teammate as well, it does make things a little bit more challenging, but is there anything that you guys would really like to improve at in the coming weeks?
Interesting spot right now. It's a bit of a Volibear blind pick meta in NA. So that's interesting, everyone's just.
Do you like that?
I mean, I think it's fine. I don't think it's like, it's just something new,
But do you really like that, Fudge?
I mean, I'm a good Volibear, so I don't mind. But
I would think you guys would both like it, considering your game plan appears to be heavily pressuring the top side right now. Don't you like diving turrets, Inori?
I actually love Volibear. I think diving for him is really easy too. He sets up ganks really well.
Volibear gang setup's insane.
So how have you guys been interacting with the LCS team so far? Because I know you guys were scrimming together towards the end of playoffs last split, right, when there weren't as many scrim opponents necessarily available, especially heading into the finals, correct?
Wait, Fudge, put your mic closer to your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Okay. My bad. Thank you. But basically, before LCS finals, we like scrimmed. It was Academy and LCS finals, or within the same week, I think it was. So we scrimmed our main team like 3 scrim sets, and those scrim sets were a bit interesting. I don't know if Monte knows the result, but they were a bit of a destruction. So it was good. I mean, we learned so much in those that week. It was insane. Like, I'm pretty sure that's actually what made us win the finals straight up.
Yeah, incredible practice. It was a learning experience. Severe, traumatic, demoralizing learning experience. But it all paid off because in the end we won. So
Am I allowed to say the scrim result?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
why not?
It
It's
was,
On
just,
the
it was, well, out of 15 games, it was 1-14. So that was good. At least you got
I'm
one
actually
game,
impressed you won one.
Yep.
You know who we won
Surprising.
on? Rek'Sai.
The dream. I mean, the main roster, the LCS roster, never plays Rek'Sai, so I think that's a good little stylistic advantage that you guys have, is a little bit more versatility, at least on that particular champion. So when you're coming into those scrims, you say that it was demoralizing, yet it did result in a big win for you guys in the finals. So it seems like you can take a lot from that mentality, that losing scrims doesn't always mean losing games, because you were able to transition that information directly into a professional match.
Exactly. I mean, the LCS scrims especially teach you that losing scrims isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I mean, when we go into those scrims, we're not exactly expected to win, so we just learn to take everything we can from the scrims, which is really good. I mean, it's the scrims are always the best practice against the LCS team.
They're good as long as they don't break you. And by that I mean, like, if you can handle that kind of stress and like that nonstop. Like for me as a jungler, I was very hesitant to take up those scrims because I know how hard Cloud9, the main team, destroys junglers, because I have to play it every game, and they're just punished. They'll punish you so hard, like especially as a jungler, because that's the best way to win. Like if you just take the enemy jungler out of the game, the team just like collapses, right? So they were like so good at punishing that. But over time, you just kind of learn so many things off that. Like being punished is how you get better. So it was always really good practice.
What do you think the thing that helped you guys the most was coming into the finals? Like each of you, what did you learn that really affected the gameplay that you had when you won the spring split?
Well, personally, it was probably laning. I mean, myself, like in those games, those scrims, it was mainly just like top lane was an island, and then there was like 4v4 bot, and then even though top lane was an island, Eric was still like winning like lane like every single game. And I mean, you just learn matchups really well, and we also 1v1 a lot, me and Eric. So it was like it's very good matchup practice, and the set matchups. That's what won me that final, that 3-set games.
How about you, Inori?
So for me, it's like I'd be like talking to Reina, and Reina would be like, "All right, Nori, we got to make a plan. How are you not going to get completely destroyed this game by Cloud9?" And he just like we just come up with like great kind of like solutions to like the problems, and over time they come up with a new thing and they just destroy me, and I'm like, all right, so we got to come up with another solution to reign over. And I think that created a really strong, idea of how to play the early game for me. Like I figured out a lot of things just seeing what they do, and then also defending what they did. It's just kind of like built like good fundamentals for me to play early game.
Do you guys still interact with the LCS team a lot? Fudge, you were saying that you do a lot of 1v1s with Licorice. How are you guys practicing with them now?
We still warm up scrim them every single like game day they have.
Oh, great.
Basically, we have and also, I mean, we talk to them every single day. It's like you just like randomly talk about like matchups. You talk about champions. It's just like you're learning stuff, even though it's not like 100% serious. It's casual. You're still learning stuff. And also, I still 1v1 Eric like every like week, like couple days before the game day. So you always like learn new matchups, stuff like that.
Yeah, we all live together, so we're pretty close, and we always interact, talk to each other, watch shows and everything. So like this environment, I personally, I can see like the benefits of it a lot, because like keeping the players close together is like really beneficial, especially for the academy players. And it's just like a really nice environment together.
Yeah, just so people know, your scrim rooms are both in the same house, sort of next to each other. So there is a lot of interaction, unless you guys moved the scrim room due to the pandemic.
It's the same.
It's the same. Okay. Still the same setup.
Yeah.
So is Tomo with you guys in the flesh, or is he playing remotely right now?
No, he's with us.
Oh, okay. Very
Yeah.
good. Very good.
He was in quarantine like for like 2.5 weeks, I think, once he came from New York.
Yeah, since I haven't been able to interact with you guys, I've actually never met or seen Tomo. So,
Easy for you to find him, or
because like obviously he flew out after your spring split victory, and so I haven't even been in the houses since that happened due to Jack's lockdown because of the pandemic.
Yeah, Jack doesn't allow anyone, man. Get out of
He
here.
doesn't fuck around. That's for sure.
Jack don't fuck around.
So what did you guys do during your break? Considering that you had a couple of months after your championship win.
Go, Nori.
Oh yeah, I mean, so it's pretty much quarantine. I live in Vancouver, Canada. So my plan before was to go back and like spend the break there, but because of the whole quarantine stuff, we're just kind of like stuck here in like isolation. So all I did was kind of like weight train, like work out, try to build like my health, and just play League of Legends pretty much. Honestly, there's not much to do. LA is kind of dead. I guess same thing about most of the world. So that's about it.
Yeah, I personally just solo queued the entire time. So I mean, it's just it wasn't. I mean, it's a break, I guess, but it's not really like I wasn't like not playing League or anything. I was just playing solo queue every single day, which I like to do. So it's good.
Probably pretty helpful. You didn't go back home to Australia at all? Nobody left.
No.
You just guys stayed
If I
here.
go back
Didn't
home to
risk it.
Australia-
Didn't risk it.
If I go back to Australia, I'm not getting out of there, dude. I'm gonna be in the same position as Calvin.
Well, you know, Australia used to be that way like 150 years ago too. Once you went there, you weren't getting out. But
True.
it hasn't been that way in over a century, I think.
We talk about it. Didn't England send all their prisoners to Australia? Yeah.
It was a penal colony.
This is the thing we talk about on Academy. So I'm Canada. When we had Calvin, King was Australian, Fudge is Australian. So I call each other the Commonwealths.
Yep.
So that's kind of like our nickname. We're the Commonwealths. We always say Commonwealths got to stick together, you know?
I love it. That's perfect. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break here for the roundup. And when we come back, we will start discussing more of the metagame and how things are going for you guys overall and your kind of perceptions on the way that LCS is going, because I'm sure you're watching a bunch of those games at the moment. So let's hit the roundup, and we'll be back in just a few.
Howdy there, buckaroos and buckarettes, and welcome to another edition of the Cloud9 Roundup. News weekly here on the Nines. Now, if you're watching this episode with those Cloud9 Academy players, you're probably already a League of Legends fan. Just in case you're not, let's take a look at our results from this week. LCS, well, they're 4-0 now, taking out Evil Geniuses and Golden Guardians on their way to another perfect record early on here in the LCS, just like last split. Can they make it 18-0 this time? We're waiting, and we're hoping to see if that's true. On the Academy side, now our Academy champions are starting a little rough here, 1-3 overall. They fell to Evil Geniuses Academy, but they picked up their first win of the summer split up against Golden Guardians. Over on the CSGO side, the second CSGO map guide is now up on the Counter-Strike Cloud9 channel with JT and Floppy, and they're teaching you how to play Dust 2. So stop being a noob and head over there to learn some Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Also, as part of the 21 years of Counter-Strike celebration, the C9 CSGO team, 10s and nothing, formed teams to battle it out all the way back in 1.6's D Nuke. You can check that out as well. Over in the land of PUBG Mobile, Day 11 of the PUBG Mobile Pro League Spring Split saw Cloud9 finishing in 9th place with 427 points. On the Valorant side of things, Tens had a takeover stream on June 18th on the HyperX Twitch channel, giving some Valorant players a crash course in learning the game. And he also competed in the Immortals First Live Invitational. They went 2-1 against Mix-Up and got to the grand finals before they fell 0-2 to TSM. Better luck to Tens and his friends next time. If you're looking for some content, though, head on over to the Valorant Cloud9 channel, where the second episode of C9 Valorant Stream Highlights featuring our Smash player Mango is up now. If you're hungry for some more C9 content, I would suggest heading over to the main channel to check out last week's episode of The Nines, because I interviewed Licorice and it was in-depth, and it will provide you a lot of information there if you're curious about how he was playing the top lane on those carries, Jason Gangplank, in the first week of the LCS. Speaking of me, I'm now the commissioner of Flashpoint, the CSGO league in which Cloud9 is a partner. I'm also the Vice President of Brand at B-Side, Flashpoint's parent company. So congratulations to me for kicking some serious ass. Take a look at this handsome guy. He's now doing great. In case you missed it, Cloud9 stands as an LGBTQIA+ ally, as profits from our C9 Pride merch will be donated to groups that provide support to underrepresented and marginalized communities. Of course, you can still pick that up. See the C9 store for the Pride collection. And of course, happy Father's Day this last Sunday, all of you Cloud9 dads, me included, and especially Jack and his father Bob, who is always taking an interest and a hand in helping out here at Cloud9. Well, that's it for this week's Cloud9 Roundup. Now, time to get back to those academies.
We're back.
We're back.
It's all right. You guys can hear me now. So,
Yes.
as I was saying, we are going to do a Puma giveaway. I've got some nice Puma shoes on today. I'm sure you guys dressed always to the nines in your Puma gear. But
Cool.
if you are in North America and over 18 years old, you have a chance to win. So type hashtag Puma in Twitch chat and we'll select one of you. And so our social media staff will be handing those out and confirming that you are, in fact, in North America and over 18, which you are now in North America and over 18, right, Fudge? That's what you told me before the
Yo,
call.
Fudge, get in, man. Get in the giveaway.
We're gonna talk about my age over here.
So, coming back, let's get your opinion on some of the LCS teams right now and kind of discuss what you've seen. How many of these LCS games have you watched, or have you been mostly watching other regions? Tell me what you guys have been reviewing.
I've watched like majority of them. I'd say like probably like 90% of the games. I've only watched like only some of them have I like not watched like the really bad games, like probably like Immortals. I think it was Immortals like 100 or more GG. I forgot who it was, but it was something about Immortals. I'm not a big fan of Immortals, to be honest.
I wish I hadn't seen those games too, but I have to talk about them sometimes. So I watch them all. I watch all the LEC. I watch all the LCS right now. Are there any teams that you guys particularly are enjoying watching at the start of the summer split besides Cloud9?
I think TL is actually pretty good right now. And also like FlyQuest is still really good. Just LCS or LEC as well?
Oh, well, let's talk about LEC. I can talk about it all, man, which is what you guys can talk about.
I'm a fan of Fnatic. You know, I like Nemesis. I like Nemesis is a funny guy. Bwipo's a funny guy, you know. They're pretty good. I like Fnatic.
You remind me of Bwipo somewhat, Fudge.
I got that a lot.
It's not
I
just
like
the look,
Fnatic
it's the attitude and the sense of humor as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Fnatic too, but you know they're really hurting my chances to play Graves. That's the really sad part, you know. Raynor was just looking at the Fnatic game, saying like, "Inori, look, Graves lost twice. You can't play Graves anymore."
So he's using Fnatic as the reason why you are not allowed to play Graves.
He uses win rates to decide.
I think
I don't allow him to do that.
personally, I might go against him a little bit by saying there's a very small sample size in LCS and LEC of Graves so far. Even though there's also a small sample size of Nidalee, 0-5 is enough for me to say no more Nidalee for you, North America. Also, I think it's a much more situational pick, and Graves is, I think, significantly stronger across the board. Plus, why don't you just show him that game of Closer and Golden Guardians absolutely dominating on the Graves?
True. No, I'm joking. He's a great. He doesn't look at win rates like that. I mean, I personally think Graves is a good champ. Even the Fnatic games, like the Graves was doing a lot of work. You know, it's just hard to execute stuff like that.
What do you guys think are the keys to executing on the Graves then, from looking at some of the games that have happened?
Maybe like build paths have to be like a big thing. I don't think you always have to have like the same exact build paths. I think sometimes you can just, there's always like a specific path that you can do in that game to really do it. Like I think one of the games he could have went PD to really capitalize on killing the front line. And if you're like playing the carry Graves style and you're like the fundamental of the team in that comp, you should itemize for like crit and more spike damage, like PD, even an IE if you have enough gold, right? Like stuff to really like push the damage output. But I really think Graves, he needs to carry, he needs PD to like actually put out like DPS instead of just burst.
So when you guys were playing against Graves, so you were against a Graves in your Golden Guardian Academy game this week, and you guys ended up actually winning that game in sort of the reverse fashion, in that instead of you throwing, they threw.
Yes.
It was kind of insane. It was the best feeling.
I was coming off
catching
of
the
that
throw.
Rek'Sai game,
Yeah, it was the
and
best
I was just
feeling.
like, my mental was just kind of like, I was still phased. I was like, oh, I lost that Rek'Sai game. Life is over. And I was like, oh, I'm in Gragas and Graves matchup. Oh no. And everything was kind of like going in, and then I played the game. I was like, kind of like running it down a little bit, not too bad. Like I was still Gragas, right? Gragas best champ in the game sometimes, and yeah, over time, they just kind of threw the game. Like I said, Graves is kind of like hard to execute. So if you give the Graves enough time, maybe he just like they just lose.
I think one of my favorite parts of that game was when Keith, for those of you who don't know, who has switched back to AD carry now, was dead, and the Baron throw that they did, I bring this up because we were talking about the Graves, and one thing Graves is not good at is killing Baron. Because of the reload time and kind of the slow shooting. But basically, they were trying to do it without their AD carry, and they were doing it so incredibly slowly that you guys got respawns from a lost team fight back in and were able to actually turn the game at that point in time.
Yeah, I think I remember watching that back, and actually a Blazolov who was on Orianna at the time, he was like really low mana, really low HP, and he had teleport. But what he decided to do instead of like backing and TPing when he was really low mana, really low HP, he decided to go do blue buff, and then he still was too low HP because JCQ would just one shot him, so he just didn't do anything. And we actually ended up like winning off of that. I think he could have just TP'd and won.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
I would
just how
say
Academy
maybe
works.
on that one.
I mean, it
would have been better for sure.
It would have been a lot better, yes. It would have been a lot better.
So when you look at Graves, what about him makes him so strong right now in the meta? Because he's often being built with phase rush at the moment. So Inori, what are you looking for when you play Graves games? What kind of openings or opportunities?
I mean, personally, I think he's just because he wins like every jungle matchup. He's just always a good pick. His strongest points is just I think you always have to match Graves with a really strong mid because like that champ should be invading, taking camps, denying the enemy early game. If you're not playing Graves to like punish early, then the champ's not gonna be like a good champ for you. And he's just really good with synergizing with mid, capitalizing on taking camps and just punishing like the enemy jungler. And yeah, he's actually scales really well. You just have to get the PD. The PD is like the best item to like carry on Graves.
How do you play around Graves from the top side? Do you do anything differently, Fudge?
I don't do anything, and I hope my jungle carries. That's what I do. You better just full clear base, kill enemy jungle full, and just 1v9 because we gave him Graves. So.
You play Ornn so that you can upgrade his items for him?
Yeah, I'm just gonna play Ornn.
Nice.
I'm gonna play GP and do nothing. Hope my jungle
I don't
carries.
know why my team just has these expectations when we pick Graves. It's like, all right, I can just sit back, relax. Inori has Graves, just 1v9 the game. Everyone's just like, oh, if Graves doesn't 1v9 the game, why can't we just play Trundle here, It doesn't add up, Inori.
I don't say that, okay?
Do you like playing Trundle, or is that just horrifically boring?
I like Trundle. I played him before too when he wasn't like giga broken. I just don't like having like, I mean, it just seems weird because like the Graves beat the Trundle, but Trundle is just such a strong front liner, and I think Pillar's just really broken right now. If it wasn't for Pillar, I think that champ would just be dog shit. But because he has Pillar, he's just so fucking. Sorry, I'm swearing, but he's so broken.
You can swear.
I'm allowed?
Yes.
It's in PG-13, all right.
I'm allowing you.
Thank you.
Let me remind you that Summoning Insight used to be under the 9, so yes, you can swear.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. I'm Australian. I need that.
Let it out, Fudge.
No, don't go full Australian. The Americans will get offended.
Yeah, full Australian is too much.
It's too much. Not for me, but for fragile Americans, it is too much.
Indeed.
So when we look at the LCS team, they played 3 out of their 4 games on Olaf so far, and he seems particularly dominant, even though many other of the LCS junglers haven't gone for him. Do you think that this is a stylistic thing for the LCS team, or do you think, generally speaking, that Olaf is super dominant in terms of his like fast clear speed right now?
I definitely think it's like a style thing, but also Olaf's strong, right? But the problem about Olaf is, again, like hard to execute champ. He definitely requires a lot of like teamwork around him. Like your team kind of has to play around the Olaf. The Olaf doesn't really play around the team as much. I think that's like a hard thing for a lot of NALCS teams to grasp. Academy teams or whatever. If you're trying to play like the carry Olaf, he needs to be like able to like full clear, get resources, not have to be like paused on his clear to help lanes. Lanes have to understand like the Olaf needs the sacrifice on the laner part for him to like snowball the game, and like it's really hard to execute. And like sometimes you need champs around Olaf like Galio, Karma, that just like ensures this Olaf can get onto the opponents and punish the enemy champions. And it's not like an easy style to play. I think a lot of teams don't want to invest so much time into like being able to like 1v9 on Olaf. But I mean, you watch LPL sometimes, there's still a lot of Olaf, but they prefer like the Cinderhawk, Warmogs, Locket build stuff sometimes. But maybe more teams are going to play Olaf, but I think the styles really just depends on the team and like the willingness to sacrifice.
How do you feel about playing around the Olaf in these scenarios?
I mean,
Same as the Graves, just
if
sort of do your thing, let him carry.
If my jungler is Blabber and he's going up 100 CS on the enemy jungler every game, I'm down to just do nothing, okay? You know, Blabber's on Olaf, it's a bit of a different thing, you know.
If my top laner is Eric and he doesn't want any ganks and he can just take the lane matchup and not ask for ganks, then I shall play.
You know what? That's true as well.
I see how it is. I see how it is. So where do you guys hit the middle ground here? Because it sounds like you both like the Rek'Sai in terms of that map control as well as the gank ability. What are your ideal pairings, do you guys think? Like that you can agree on? Not necessarily that you want to play the most, but where you can come and meet in the middle in terms of what you both like to have happen in a game of League of Legends.
Well, Rek'Sai, Inori's good at it, so I'm down to have Rek'Sai. I personally think that Rek'Sai actually isn't that broken. I think if the laners are better in NA, they actually don't die to all Rek'Sai ganks, unlike Huni. But basically, I think like full clear base junglers like Gragas, Olaf, Graves, stuff like that, Nidalee, I think they're actually pretty good if you can execute them well. Obviously, as Inori said, people aren't that good at executing other than Blabber in NA right now. So it's like, I mean, I'm fine with having full clear base junglers myself.
What do you like Fudge to play?
I like it when he plays carry champs and he just 1v9s the game. I like it when he just carries and just...
His mic went out. Hello? Okay, it's back.
I'm back. I'm sorry. Yeah, when he 1v9s the game, and yeah, that's my favorite part about Fudge. He does it a lot though. Fudge is a beast. He doesn't get enough credit, man.
He does. You know, I noticed that in some of your games, but unfortunately, they also have led to losses. It's very hard, I think, to carry out of the top side right now, even when you are playing like Jason Gangplank, right?
Yeah, top lane is generally not the best carry role right now, but I mean, when you have a better top laner, you can feel it. You know, teleport can be a very overpowered summoner spell right now, so you can affect the map very well with it.
Yeah, I mean, bot lane is just broken right now. It's actually so broken, it's disgusting. Like, no joke, especially in solo queue. Like, I don't know why Riot busts bot lane so much. It's literally 2 people coming out of that lane, and your other 2 people are just crippled, destroyed. Like, how do you play a game if bot lane is just that OP? Just don't understand.
What specifically is OP about bot lane right now that you guys are taking issue with?
It's just the entire game revolves around them. I think every time you buff AD carry, they just become so much stronger, and like support just enables the roam potential, the carry potential, while the AD carries just bring out the damage. And the game just always revolves around bot lane if their bot lane is strong, right? It's like, if that's just how the game plays.
How would you shift the balance in order to take it away from top lane, or bottom lane rather, just a little bit?
Honestly, I'm not gonna. I guess I have to be the one to say it. I think you just have to nerf completely, destroy bot lane, just make it like a role. Like you need even the power. Okay, maybe if Dragon wasn't in the game, where it's like you have to get dragons or something, or maybe the fact that bot lane just controls all macro, all tempo, because when one bot lane gets ahead, you have 2 weak players on your team. It's just like a numbers problem. Like, it's always been like that. Like 2 people getting ahead while 2 people getting weaker just leads to like so much problems. Maybe they can just balance it by like nerfing everyone across the board, but pushing bot lane a bit more so bot lane doesn't get completely destroyed.
Basically, I really don't think bot lane is OP. I think jungle is OP actually, and
how dare you?
To be honest, I feel like the game is actually pretty balanced right now. I don't feel like one role is specifically like too broken, especially in competitive. Maybe in solo queue, like there's like jungle or mid is like really overpowered, but top lane is pretty like it's actually better than I think it was last year. I feel like top lane is actually like pretty impactful right now, especially with like Jace and Gangplank are actually really like strong carries right now. So I don't think like, and I also don't think like bot lane is broken at all. Like when solo laners are going up like 3 or 4 levels on bot lane like ADCs, it's like I would not say it's very fair for them to play the game.
Okay, my problem is top lane. Okay, when bot lane gets ahead, the other side of it, you have no teammates, right? Like, it's so punishing to be on the losing side of bot lane. That's like my biggest issue about how the game is. So every time bot lane gets stronger, the losing side just falls even more and more behind, more helpless, and like top lane can never carry if the bot lane is on the opposite side carrying.
Yes, indeed.
So one thing I want to do is provide an opportunity for Twitch chat to ask you some questions. I know it's always dangerous, but we are going to, I will take a look at Twitch chat here in a minute once you guys have a chance to actually put your questions in. I want to go back to what you guys were talking about Fnatic though. What about Fnatic do you guys like in the LEC region? I didn't expect you to say that team in particular, even though obviously they were in the finals, they've done very well recently, but what is so intriguing about that roster to you guys?
Well, personally, I think Nemesis is really good at the game. A lot of people disagree with me, and especially in Cloud9, they're like, Nemesis isn't that good. I personally think he's pretty good, and I also think he's really funny. I like watching him stream a lot, so Nemesis and Bwipo, they're really funny. It's not necessarily about their gameplay. I mean, their gameplay is obviously really good too, but they're just really funny people, so I like to watch them. I like their team. Also, they're part of BMW, so.
The sponsorship connection. So nothing to do with actual gameplay.
I mean, no, they're good as well. They're definitely good. They're very good players.
What are your thoughts on Selfmade as a jungler there, Inori?
I think he's great. I think he's alpha. He's Chad. He just goes in. Sometimes he doesn't come out, but that's part of it.
It's true.
He's aggressive. I like watching him play, especially like it's really rare when you see like a player hard carrying through jungle right now, and it's just nice to see like that kind of player showcasing it.
So as a result of the Puma giveaway, I get to say this on the air, which is very exciting. This person's name is Donglit. So Donglit has won the giveaway. Excellent name there on Twitch, I have to say. As far as questions go, Lagoon has an interesting one for you guys. If Cloud9 Academy were in the LCS, what do you think your standings would be at the end of the season? I bet you're better than Immortals, at least.
Yes. Let's say. I guess this split so far, I would say we're like probably like 8th. I'd say last split we're probably like 5th or 5th. 5th, I'd say, yeah. Around 5th from last split, like from the end of like the finals, playoffs. We scrimmed LCS teams and we did pretty well against them. So I mean, I'm pretty confident that we would be pretty high in LCS from last split.
Yeah, when we had our original roster together, by the end of like the first split, we were playing LCS teams. We had really good results. We had lots of practice through our main team, and we actually were confident that we're like a top 5 LCS team at that time. And I do think like if we were the same roster continuing, we would still be like a top 5 LCS team.
So Tiberius Jesus asks, do you improve more through 1v1s versus Licorice or solo queue? And I think this is probably a result of Licorice himself saying that he prefers doing 1v1s rather than playing solo queue himself.
I think it depends on what you're trying to improve. I mean, definitely matchup wise, you improve way more through 1v1s. Like, it's not a question. The 1v1s help your lane matchup like knowledge way better than any solo queue games. But in terms of like, I guess like map awareness or it's like map awareness, I guess, is mainly, and just like understanding. You don't really learn much from solo queue, honestly. So I'd definitely say 1v1.
People are wondering, when you do the 1v1s, do you know like what percentage of the time you win versus Licorice?
I mean, it all depends on the matchup, but I would definitely not say it's like probably like 40% of the time I would win. I'd say. It all depends on the matchup. Like Eric likes to test matchups, right, in 1v1. So like if he's testing a matchup, he's probably like doesn't know the matchup that well, and I'm probably playing a champion that I'm more comfortable on, so he would probably lose more, right?
Yeah, obviously,
And
like
it's
it's
not
not
really
about a
about
win rate
it's
either
not about
because
winning. Yes, we really don't
you
care.
could intentionally train a weak matchup, like you're
Yes,
saying,
yes,
just to figure
yes,
out how to
exactly.
lose less badly in it. So
Exactly. Like win rate is something we never even think about. Like it's
right,
really
right,
irrelevant,
right, right.
in my opinion.
Here's a good question for you guys. Why don't we see any Wukong in NA? Now, we have seen some bans in the LCS, but it's definitely been way more prevalent in other regions.
I mean, that's a good question, I guess. I think I'm not actually sure, to be honest. Like, people know like the Wukong counters. I'm not going to say them, obviously, but like the Wukong counters, they do make Wukong like a lot. Like, I see Wukong blind picked, right, in other regions. I also don't see people counter picking it with like what I consider to be counters. So I'm kind of it kind of confuses me, like the meta in other regions sometimes. But Wukong's definitely a strong champion. If you get out of like generally you can get a lane lead depending on matchup, and the champion also depends on the enemy like comp not having too much like enchanters. Like for example, like Yuumi and Lulu are really hard for Wukong right now, and it also like it just makes him playing the game really hard. And that's why I also think like Gangplank and stuff like that is way better, or Ornn even is a lot better than Wukong. But yeah.
That's funny. You would think the monkey region would play the monkey more, but it seems like there's something about it too relatable.
I like that. That's a good response. Do you guys think the C9 LCS team has a good chance versus teams like top teams from other regions, having played them and watched them now? Because we didn't get to see MSI.
Honestly, like I thought there's something special. Like we get to see them every day playing, scrimming, practicing, playing their stage game. And I do think they're actually something special. Like I do think playing internationally, they would have better results than a lot of other NA teams. They're not like a team that seems to be like held back by like fear or like hesitation. They just kind of like play as great as they can every time, which is impressive. And like Blabber, of course, I think he would destroy a lot of international junglers. Like he's aggressive. He doesn't seem like the type who would back down on like against like different teams. So I definitely think they would actually do really well.
Yeah, I personally think that they would be better than. I mean, I think they would like be able to match G2, Fnatic. I mean, maybe not G2 right now, but I mean, G2's not playing the best. But anyway, I think like T1 stuff like that. I think they might have an edge over C9 if I'm being honest. But I do think that like C9 isn't actually that far away from them right now.
So people are asking you, Inori, so I'm going to combine two questions. How many carry jungles are viable in pro play right now outside of Nidalee and Graves? And what are your thoughts on assassin junglers? Because that's obviously like more of a solo queue thing. But do you think there are any good carry junglers outside of the Nidalee Graves that you could pick up?
I mean, I personally think Rek'Sai is also a carry that is going to be a champ that's going to be played a lot more as time goes on. I think teams are really slow to pick up on how good Rek'Sai is, especially as a carry jungler.
I mean, I just find it frustrating because Rek'Sai is sort of one of those champs that's like always good just because she provides so much information to your team and provides so much mobility. And these are just things that are essential for any jungler, right? So kind of perpetually in the meta, I would say.
Yeah, her kit is just so well designed for it.
Yep.
Like Tremor Sense is just insanely OP, always in pro play.
Yes.
And otherwise, I think, well, if I'm going off what Rainover says, he says tank junglers carry the game all the time. So, like, I would say like maybe Set Jungle could be a carry champ as well. But overall, there isn't really that many more carries except for like those three. Maybe Lee Sin.
Kindred.
But, yeah, Kindred
Kindred,
too, but
that's
those
true.
are like harder to execute too, more like comp related. But for like the other question was like what
assassin
assassins could be
junglers?
viable. Honestly, I mean, assassins are dead.
Kazakhs?
Sorry to break the news to you, bro, but Kazakhs could be viable. I do hope they actually push the game towards more like viability towards like assassin junglers. It doesn't seem like it, but hopefully I'd love to play some Kazakhs who used to be like one of my favorite champs. Maybe even Rengar too.
Inori Rengar, yeah.
Actually, here balancing. Let's push a little bit towards the assassin side. Let's get some Kazakhs going. Let's get some Rengar maybe. I would love you guys if you did something like that.
I would not. I actually hate assassin jungle metas.
I cannot side lane against that champ.
So Kiana's Thighs, which is still one of my favorite usernames. Kiana's Thighs wants to know if you have any anime recommendations, Inori, right now.
Me? Hold on. I gotta look at Kiana's thighs right now.
Jesus.
Jesus. Okay, I see. Anime recommendations. Right now, there's this one called like Dorohedoro. It finished a bit before. I really liked it. It's like very trippy, cool different reality anime. I definitely recommend it. If you want something like maybe like OG, maybe just watch like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. That's always a good one. And yeah, those two are like my recommendations right now. Everyone's watching Tower of God. Seems like it's a hype one that could probably be pretty good. Yeah.
Do you weeb at all, Fudge?
I do. Actually, yeah. I do a little bit, you know. I don't really watch anime anymore. I used to a lot, but
He's a Korean weeb.
no, I'm not.
Yes, tell him. He reads the thing. It's not manga. It's called
it's webtoon.
manhwa. And
Oh
it's
yes,
Korean
manhwa.
manga.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
mean,
familiar.
Yes, he lived in Korea. I think he knows.
So, wow, you think Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is OG? Because like that came out after I stopped heavily watching anime. Because like I go back even further to like Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion
damn.
era. That was when I was growing up.
You're the true OG then, yeah.
No, I'm just old now. I do enjoy anime, but my problem with anime is that I feel like there's only one good anime like every 5 years, and so I something gets really hyped up like every year, and I'll try watching it, but then I inevitably get disappointed. Like I thought Attack on Titan was good for like 5 episodes and then sucked. Like Death Note was good for the first 13 episodes and then sucked. What else did I try and
Yeah.
watch? Sword Art Online, that just straight sucked all the way.
Oh god.
Yeah, I think the issue is you got to kind of like really drop your expectations. You got to go in there no expectations whatsoever, and then slightly get impressed as you watch it. It's kind of like the approach I take.
So what's the new hype one? Tower of God. What's that one
Yeah,
about?
So there's this tower, right? Just a big tower,
Okay.
God.
and insane amounts of floor. Insane. It's sounding like Sword Art Online, but it's not Sword Art Online. Guarantee you that.
Okay.
And it's just like about like going through the levels, and this one main character who's a big wimp, of course. Like he's a guy insecure,
God
really
damn it.
weak.
See, I hate this about anime.
It's a
Anyway.
I'm not selling it very well, but hold on now. So get it. There's this girl, right? And she's really into this guy who's that wimpy, insecure guy. And as they progress through this tower, they just kill everyone, and they get some new friends, some like ragtag team of groups, and it's a really good anime if you kind of like that kind of build upon like curiosity kind of anime.
See, one of the things I can't stand is like when anime is like a beta male fantasy. So I think I might skip this one. But I will
Yeah.
say, in terms of my recommendations, there's about like I haven't seen the new FLCL yet, but I love the old FLCL, and a lot of the stuff that ended up kind of spinning out of that, like Paranoia Agent, another good one. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
Have you seen Monster?
I've heard of it, but I've not watched it. Did you like it?
Yes.
You like that?
I tend to
paranoia
like the
stuff?
darker stuff. Let's put it
You should
that
watch
way.
Dorohedoro. Watch Dorohedoro.
Okay.
It's a really good one. It's like that kind of like mysterious, like paranoia kind of stuff. It's really
I
good
don't
to
know
watch.
how to spell that, but sure did.
Yeah, I really like the more like psychological dark stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my jam. Anyway, we'll stop talking about weeb stuff now. Thank you guys both for joining us here on the Nines presented by AT&T. Really appreciate your time. Hope you guys have some better luck. I assume you will in the rest of the season, considering
will,
you're very
we will.
close to winning several of those games anyway.
Yeah.
Of course.
Still got a lot of confidence in you guys, and be sure to check out their Academy games as they move forward throughout the season. So appreciate your tips, and we'll see you next week for another episode of the Nines.
See ya.
See you guys.
Bye bye.